Hi my loves, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica Alexandria of Bahati Life. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about Wendy Williams. Now this is one of my first times ever doing a reading for a celebrity on my YouTube channel, and the reason why it's been, I kind of delayed on doing this, even though it's something that I wanted to do. It's because astrology reveals all. It's almost like opening up someone's journal or someone's diary or their mind and knowing all aspects of their lives that some pieces of them, they might not even know. That's the gift and the blessing of astrology. And I am a private person, and so I understand the need for privacy. This is why I personally don't post my natal chart on the internet. That's because everybody can see everything about you. Not that it's something that you have to hide, but it's something that I personally would protect. And I know that Wendy Williams is someone who has known to be very private. It's also written in her chart, as I'm looking at her chart now, that she's going to be a very private person. And I have heard her say in the past that she doesn't like, you know, this type of like woo-woo stuff. I think that's what she calls it. And that's kind of what it is that I'm doing that's what I do for a living. It's not what I kind of do. It is what I do for a living. But I will say that I am a huge fan of Wendy Williams. I watch her. I've been working for myself for quite some time now, and something that has helped me to transition from working with a bunch of people to working alone and just, you know, talking to my clients throughout the day is listening to Wendy Williams. And so I've watched her and I'm a fan, and I love her. I love her work. I relate to her in some ways. She's a Cancer sun. I'm a Cancer rising. So, you know, I had tough feelings when it came to me posting her business right now, but I will say that in my own life, if there's people that I care about and I see that they're going through something, the first thing that I do is I connect with my intuition, or I'll pull the chart, and I want to see what's going on in order to help them to understand what's going on in their life. So Wendy Williams, if you ever get a hold of this, if you ever watch this video, just know that my intention is 100% pure. Just know that I'm not trying to expose anything that's going on in your life. Of course, people can choose to believe this or not, but astrology, again, reveals the most. Astrology reveals everything, so I'm just going to talk about my predictions, and hopefully, you know, this doesn't offend her or her family or anyone else, but it could give some insight and guidance and clarity into her life right now, and that's my intention, is that it helps to provide a little bit more grounding. It's cementing what is going on for her and making it not more real, but helping to provide a deeper level of understanding for herself, because there is a lot that's going on within the chart. That being said, I feel like if I'm doing this, I'm receiving, you know what I mean? Like, I'm taking her birth information, her natal chart, and I'm pulling it up and I'm looking to see what's going on, and I'm sharing that. So at the end of this video, I do have an intuitive message that I want to share with her in exchange for this ability to, you know, pull her chart and use her as an example. And I do want to say again, like, disclaimer, that this is for positive, you know, positive intention only. I don't have any negative will. I'm not trying to, you know, expose her or anything like that. And at the end of the day, you either choose to believe in astrology and take it for what it is, or you totally reject it. That being said, I do have her chart pulled up. And there's one thing that just stands out to me 100%, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but I just want to kind of separate my screen so I could look at both her natal chart and also the transits, because that's how I work. The other thing is that for those of you guys who don't know my work, or if you're new to my YouTube channel, astrology is pretty much a science based upon facts. So it's evidence. It's when we have this aspect, when we have this angle, when these planets, you know, aspect each other in this way, this is what we can expect, and we can expect it time and time and time again. So that's what astrology can do. But for me, when I was studying astrology, when I was learning astrology, I realized that my intuition still wanted to come through, and the symbols that are found within the chart would kind of trigger my intuitive, you know, feelings, and then I would want to speak out on that. So that's what you can expect with the reading from me, is I'm not only talking about the science and the study of astrology and what we can you know, expect from the astrology chart, but intuitively there's things that stand out that I'll mention. And that makes me different than other astrologers out there in the world, unless they're doing this as well. So it's the merging, the blending of the science and the study of astrology with intuition, kind of weaved into one. That being said, okay, let's go ahead and dive in. So the first thing that stands out to me when I look at her chart is I always want to look at the sun. And the sun shows, you know, where that energy is, and where that energy is kind of being highlighted, and where her level, like her identity, what is important to her, and also her health, how her health is currently, you know, being supported, or is it being taken down. And her sun falls in the sign of Cancer, which you guys know Wendy Williams is a Cancer, but it makes her so sensitive, it makes her so susceptible to, you know, changes in the body. If she's not taking care of her physical body, if she's not taking care of her mental body, her emotional body, her spiritual body, it impacts everything else. And that's true for everyone, but it's even more so true for those that are in such a sensitive sign like Cancer, because Cancer picks up everything. It's almost like Virgos. They just pick up everything in the environment, whether they want to or whether they don't. They're the signs that just kind of naturally are empaths or sensitive to, hold on, I gotta put my chair down. They're the signs that are almost empaths and sensitive to, you know, energy around them, whether they want to or not. And her sun naturally falls in her 6th house. Well, it falls in the 6th house, the house of service to others and how she takes care of herself and her day-to-day routine. Now, her sun is being positively aspected by the moon falling in the sign of Scorpio, which is very intense emotions. It's very, very protective. Now, it's very important for me to start off by saying those two things. Those are the aspects of her. That's who she is. That's never going to change. And that's one of the reasons why I like her, because I relate to that. This is this energy of, I love my family, I protect my family, I love myself, I love my friends, and I'm very guarded about who I allow in my circle. Even as much as she is going to be in service to others, and that's like 100% a part of her destiny and a part of her personality, is to be there, you know, working. Why? Because the 6th house is connected to your service to others, the work that it is that you do and how you give it to other people. And that's where she gets her sense of identity, is her day-to-day routine, her day-to-day structure, her day-to-day, what it looks like. And she can change her whole life just by changing, you know, her diet, her lifestyle. If she's taking good care of herself, then everything else has a tendency to kind of unfold, you know, well for her. And if she's doing what it is that she loves, then everything else has a tendency to unravel well for her. But if there is a major transit that will come in and disrupt that, which is exactly what it is that I'm seeing right now, then everything, her entire world as she knows it, will start to unravel, starting with her health, starting with her day-to-day, and then it impacts into her work, what her work looks like. So sometimes your reputation, that'll be like the 10th house. If her sun fell in the 10th house and these aspects kind of would, you know, move through, and I'm jumping ahead of the game right now, but if her sun fell in the 10th house, or there was more energy and emphasis on the 10th house and the protection of the 10th house, then she wouldn't have to do as much in order to, or she wouldn't feel like she has to do as much. And the reason why I say feel is because our astrology chart shows our, you know, what our natal chart shows, what is ingrained in us, what we feel instinctively, because that's what we have to do. That's why I say follow your heart, because if you follow your heart and you follow your intuition and your gut instinct, you are moving in alignment with what the divine wants for you. So if you start logically trying to fight that, that's only your human brain trying to figure out what can and cannot happen. And that's when we find ourselves in trouble, versus if you listen to your intuition and your heart and your gut, you will be guided and you will have unlimited amount of success. And the heart and the intuition and the gut are so ingrained in the astrology chart and within your natal chart, because they show you, like, this is why you love this. This is what you're destined to do. Follow your heart and it will lead you that way. So that's why it's like Wendy Williams feels like this is what I have to do. She's constantly in this mindset of, if I stop or if I don't do this, everything is going to crumble, because her existence is what she can do. And her work ultimately is going to look like that. Like, no matter what type of job she goes into or what type of work that she'll go into, which is going to be communications and broadcasting and television and those types of things. Why is this? Well, because if her birth time is correct, her 10th house is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is all about personality. Well, it's all about taking things to the next level, larger than life. It connects you to the world. It connects you to different people, different cultures, that you just happen to be this like larger than life type of personality. But, well, Sagittarius rules her 10th house. I'm sorry. And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter falls within the 3rd house of communications and broadcasting and the words that it is that she gets out. So she's going to end up in some type of communications, television, TV, publishing, or something like that, where, you know, she's either writing, she's articulating, she's, you know, this personality that, you know, gets put out there in some way, shape, or form. And then the sun falls in her 6th house, shows that this is going to be her everything, her whole entire world, next to her family. And why family? Well, because sun people, you know, sun and Cancer people always end up being so family oriented, always and forever. It's so important for them to have the structure and the bones of a home environment that feels comfortable to them, that they love, that they can hide at, that they can protect. And, you know, that's just sun, Cancer sun people. But anyways, so the thing is that if something does disrupt this ecosystem, if this thing does, whatever this transit is, if it does disrupt her world, the first thing that's going to happen is she's going to lock it down. She's not going to, you know, talk about it. She's not going to communicate it with people. She's not going to share it. It's going to be very, very private. Emotionally, she has a need to be very secretive about things. She could have, you know, best friends around her or family around her, and they'll never know exactly what's going on in her world unless Wendy Williams decides to talk about it, unless she decides to share that secret. Everything emotionally feels like she has to keep it a secret. She has to protect it. And that's just natural for her. This is because her moon, this emotional need, falls in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is very, very intense, very, very possessive. And because they feel things so deeply, especially with sun falling in the sign of Cancer, that's one of the most sensitive signs, point blank, period. It's a very strong sign. It's one of the cardinal signs, so it's a leader. They have this hard outer shell, but internally they're very soft, they're very sensitive. So of course they have to protect themselves. So instead of them talking about it, instead of them expressing it, she's going to hide it. It's interesting too because her Mercury falls in the sign of Leo, which is very like, you know, Leo is the sign of the star. It's the sign that wants to communicate. It's very expressive. It makes people laugh, and you know that's very good. Mercury falls in the 6th house, again focusing back on her work and her service to others. And Mercury again is the natural ruler of the 3rd house, but connects to her need to communicate and to pick and choose. Even if she was going to say something, even if she decides to, it's going to be in a way that it's painted probably different than what it actually is. This isn't an act of, you know, deceiving anybody. It's just who she is as a person, that if she does articulate, if she does say that this is what's going on, she kind of like makes it a joke or makes it like larger than life or gives it some type of life or, you know, color to it, because that's the energy of Leo as a whole. But there's aspects of it that are not hidden. That being, or there's aspects of it that are being hidden, that are still very much protected. And she's going to be the type of person that if she shares something, or if, let's say she has 5 secrets, there's not one person that has all of those 5 secrets. If she does decide to share one of those secrets, it's going to be someone that she trusts, and she kind of scatters those things around if she has to get it off of her chest. But emotionally, she has this need to kind of keep things locked in. If you betray that trust, if you hurt her, if you, you know, if you disrespect her in some way, if you bust that like bubble, it's not even a bubble. It's just like, I allowed you in, like you knew that this is who I am. This is what it's important to me. And you know, you betrayed this. It's like, I will murder you. Like it's the ultimate, you know, there's some people who, if you disrespect them, they'll be angry, but they'll move on. They'll get over it, or they won't hold it against you. This is a person that they're so protected, they're so sensitive, and they have this strong exterior that if they allowed you into their soft, sensitive side, their emotional sides, and they've done all this for you, and you scorn them, she'll like go down with you in order to take you down. Like, it is that serious. It's that intense. And, you know, I respect that. As from one woman to another, I respect that need to protect yourself. And I respect that, you know, that desire to demand, you know, mutual respect. But at the same time, sometimes life happens, and there's going to be moments where people are going to disappoint you. There's going to be moments where, you know, people can't hold their end of the bargain, or feelings change, or life changes for whatever reason. And, you know, people, maybe it's not intentional. I'm not saying that it is or it isn't, but, you know, some things happen, and, you know, you can't, you know, the level of punishment, sometimes does the punishment that you're giving to people, do they really deserve it? You know, it's like kind of like questioning that, because with Scorpio, like Moon Scorpio people, and for those of you guys that have Moon in Scorpio, you already know what it is that I'm talking about. It goes from I love you to I hate you. And then when you are scorned by them and you hate someone, like, you're almost obsessed with taking them down. And again, it's that Scorpio sting. Like, they will paralyze you. They'll do whatever it takes in order to make sure that you feel this for the rest of your life. It's not just now. Like, how dare you? Like, that's why I think that she's very protective of herself, because she knows her potential. Like, she knows, like, if you do this to me, like, you're not cut out of my life, but like, you're dead to me. And if it's someone that she really cares about, it could really be taken to the next level, which is just like, you know, I mean, like, who, like, what can't they do? You know what I mean? Like, feelings are everything. And if a person feels something strong enough, you know, it's limitless what can happen, whether that be good or bad or evil. Do you know what I mean? I'll leave it at that. So that's what I'm seeing. So I say all that to say, like, that's the first thing that stands out in this chart. Now, a reading with me can go anywhere between an hour. Well, it's usually longer than an hour. It's like an hour and 30 minutes, 2 hours. The last reading that I did was 4 hours long. It was like 3.5, maybe 4 hours long. And I could have still kept going, because the astrology chart shows so much. But anyways, I'm going to keep this as short and sweet, because you guys don't have an hour, and we pretty much want to talk about, you know, what's going on in her life right now. So we'll go ahead and dive into that. So the first thing that I see when I'm looking at her chart is, if this just stands out like a sore thumb, and this really, really bothers me, it's the fact that Uranus, the planet of disruption and erratic change and just surprises, like, comes in and squares her sun. Now, geez, Christ, you know what I mean? Like, the sun falls in the 6th house of health. Her sun naturally falls within the 6th house of health, and her day-to-day, and what her diet, what her routine, what her body is looking like, and what it feels like, and how it's able to bounce back. Wendy Williams, if you're watching this, there is nothing that you can do to fight this aspect. It's going to be a year long, but you would have been feeling it longer than a year. And what happens is that Uranus, and it's longer than a year. This would have been traits. And the reason why it's longer than a year for you, my love, Wendy Williams, is because, you know, Uranus was retrograde, and like, it kind of has been doing this dance. And Uranus moves very, very slow. It's one of those planets like Pluto and Saturn. It's one of those planets that, you know, just moves way too, it moves slow. So the transit lasts forever, and then you factor in retrogrades, and it just keeps on lingering around that same spot. So if Uranus was to continue to go direct and just keep moving forward, like as if nothing was happened, your health and your day-to-day work would be disrupted regardless, but it wouldn't last as long as it has, and it wouldn't be as intense as it has been. And girlfriend, Wendy, like, it's this aspect, you cannot fight it. I understand that as a sun, as a sun sign, falling in the sign of Cancer, the Cancer signs are cardinal signs. They're known for being very emotional and very sensitive, but they're very, very powerful. They're the cardinal signs, and they're the ones that initiate change. They're the ones that do not go down without a fight. But there are moments in your life, Wendy, when you just have to really kind of like let go and not force and not fight, because you will make the situation worse. And it has nothing, it's not a testament to what you can and cannot do, because I look at your chart and I see 100% power. And this comes from your feeling alone. But there are things that are beyond you that you cannot, you can't like rewind, that you can't flip to work for you. You just have to submit to it. And the harder that you push, the more that you force it, especially when it comes to your health, the worse it gets. You will unravel. And the other thing is that your day-to-day represents what your days look like. And if you find that you're, going from here to there to there to there, like all of this, it's almost like all these opportunities can come in at one point, but at the same time, all of these things will come in at one time. And at the same time, your health is getting broken down. And it's like the timing of it just sucks, but that's what it looks like and that's what it's showing within the astrology chart. And that's how it is sometimes. You'll see this positive thing happening, but on this side, all of this is getting shot to shit, because it's energy. And that's what I'm seeing within the chart, which it's like, it's going to be very hard for you, Wendy, to say no to these opportunities that are coming in, because everyone wants to get a piece of you. But at the same time, it's like the more that you push, the more that you fight, and the more that you force and pretend like this doesn't exist. And maybe it's not that you're pretending that it doesn't exist. Maybe you're just trying to do the best with what you have with your health and your life. You know what I mean? Like what you're trying to keep this sense of normalcy, because that's important to you. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. Like, it's just getting destroyed. The other thing that we need to talk about, Wendy, is, and I say this all with love, this is not me, coming at you with ill intent and for me to tell you about yourself, because, you're a grown-ass woman and I'm 31 years old. I'm a professional astrologer, and at the end of the day, it's your life. You're going to do with it what you will. But I can say that with these transits, you have to be so, 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 so careful. And the reason why is because Pluto ruling death and transformation. Now, when I say Pluto and death and transformation, I'm not promising death for anybody. I'm not saying that can happen, or I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying that if you don't respect your body, the worst can happen. And Pluto is moving through your 12th house it's entering into your 12th house, but the sign that rules your 12th house is Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is so stubborn. Capricorn is very locked down, and the 12th house represents your subconscious and your worst fears and hospital stays, hospital visits, mental breakdowns. And Saturn has been moving through Capricorn, even though these planets have been moving through your 11th house, because Capricorn rules your 12th. It influences your subconscious. It influences your mental health. And Saturn, it's not just you. This would happen to anybody, Wendy, but what ends up happening is that Saturn will break down the weakened spots of your mind, or if there's something in your life that just would take you down and make you feel vulnerable and make you feel weak, that is what is going to happen. It'll break down relationships. It'll break down, like, whatever it is your worst fear is what will get highlighted and what will start to get chiseled at. And this has been happening for longer than a year. And we're not even talking about Pluto. Pluto's been longer than that. It almost seems like with Pluto, longer than this year, it's been working a lot so that your hopes and your wishes, your desires, like the desires of your heart, start to show themselves and reveal themselves and kind of manifest. So it encourages you, and you'll do whatever it takes in order to keep up and in order to keep that momentum. So you would have seen probably a lot of growth when it comes to your exposure. But the thing is that once it gets into the 12th house, and that's where we're at right now, just a second. Sorry, guys. Once it gets into the 12th house, once Pluto gets into the 12th house, that's when we start seeing the breakdowns. And if you don't have these are transits that you should not go in by yourself. And the reason why is because it's too much for a person to look at their inner demons or to be confronted with their worst fears and to look at them alone. Now, that's not to say if there's anybody that can do it, it's a chart like Wendy Williams. And it's because, again, her sun falling in the sign of Cancer does not take no for an answer. Her, you know, and it's a leader, it's a fighter, it's, you know, it moves from its feelings. But those feelings, again, like, and the moon falling in the sign of Scorpio, again, it's very passionate, it's very, like, ignited. It's not gonna, you know, back down. But the thing is that it's very important. And I know, like, I've heard Wendy Williams say this before in the past. Actually, now that I'm looking at the chart, she doesn't trust people, or she wouldn't go to a therapist. But these are things where it's like, maybe contact people that are in your same industry, that do go to a trained professional or a therapist or a counselor or something, and they're known for dealing with people like of your status, I guess, and will respect your need for privacy, because your health and your mental health, your mental well-being is the most important thing. It's priority number one. And again, like Cancer sons, they'll try and do it all on their own, and it almost feels like a personal failure if they can't. And I understand that 100%. And it's not even just Cancer sun, it's just her chart in a nutshell. Whew. So let me go ahead and pause this really quickly. Well, quickly, Jupiter moving through the 10th house, transiting the 10th house. Jupiter is a planet of abundance and expansion and growth. So we're starting to see that growth, but it's like, or she's gonna start seeing incredible growth for her reputation. But it's, you know, it's aspecting, Jupiter is squaring off with her natal Pluto, it's squaring off with her natal Uranus, it's squaring off with the vertex. So it's fated, it's supposed to happen, but it comes from experiences that aren't the most positive or don't feel the best, because it's igniting. And the thing is that it's coming from the relationship sector. It has to come from the relationship sector. It has to come from her marriage, her partnerships, her alliances, which is very problematic. Because if there is something, you know, what happens is that when Jupiter moves through here and squares that, Pluto moves through, Pluto natally falls within her 7th house of marriage, and the person that she's married, Uranus is sitting in the 7th house, and that's so tough because that can signal divorce, that can signal sudden separation when this planet gets aspected, which is happening right now, as far as January 5th, 2019. So I'm reading forward into the future. Jupiter is finally, you know, moving into a position where it's squaring that. And it has for like the last 6 months, but longer than that, because, you know, again, Jupiter is doing this little bit of a dance. And this could really trigger divorce. This can really trigger sudden separations. And the reason why it's sudden and unpredictable is because that's the energy of Uranus. And Pluto is death, destruction, and it will, but also the ability to kind of transform it to the next, you know, so whatever it is that it's ultimately meant to be. But when you have Uranus falling in the 7th house of relationships, you have sudden departures, sudden arrivals, shotgun marriage, getting married early, getting like spontaneously married, which is shotgun wedding, but also unconventional relationships or unconventional marriages. But we wouldn't know that, again, because Wendy Williams would probably keep that pretty secret and exclusive. So it's like partnerships that might be like, you know, we're married, but you do this for the sake of, you know, the children, for the sake of our appearance, for the sake of this. So those are things to look out for. It's not what it is that it seems. And in fact, I predicted this before it happened, or right before it happened, and as it was happening, that, you know, Cancer babies were going to get the full frontal beat down with that last Cancer full moon. And then that same day, that's when Wendy Williams was having those issues on live TV. Again, Jupiter rules this, you know, Jupiter is one of those planets that everyone says, oh my God, this is such a good planet, so it's gonna promise these good things. The reality is that Jupiter expands anything that it touches, for good or for bad. So if it's aspecting a planet within your natal chart that is, you know, will trigger something to happen for you in a negative way. I believe everything happens for a reason, but some things don't feel good when they happen. It will expand that. So you can't promise that a Jupiter transit is going to be positive. when we see that Jupiter is going to move through a house, we'll be like, oh my gosh, you know, the energy of this house is going to be heightened. And when we see her career, the 10th house, and Jupiter moves into the 10th house, we say before it happens, your career is going to expose. But as an astrologer, I'd be like, okay, looking at this, your career is going to expose, you know, expand. Expose is the word that keeps coming out and keeps coming through. And I feel like that we're probably going to see something get exposed sooner rather than later, if it hasn't already, when it comes to the relationship and the marriage. But I could see that, you know, as Jupiter moves into the 10th house, yes, her reputation is going to be blasted out there, but why? Why? And is it going to be something that's going to feel good to Wendy Williams? The answer is probably not, because Jupiter, the first thing that Jupiter touches is Pluto, death, transformation, and total taking down things that are weakened, are not strong. Pluto falls within the 7th house of relationships, so it would be connected to a marriage or an alliance, a business alliance. And then Uranus is sudden disruption, divorce, or sudden changes within the relationship, within the marriage. Why the marriage? Because Uranus falls within the 7th house. So I hope that makes sense. The other thing is that as an astrologer, right, Uranus is one of those planets that we all understand, astrologers understand, that you never can predict what it can bring, because it will bring in, like, it's like the Tower card within the tarot. You just never know. You just know to expect the unexpected, and that's what we're seeing. Uranus moving through the sign of Aries is war, it's ignition, like things getting ignited, it's battles, it's, you know, things like inflammation, it's, you know, sudden explosions that could happen in the head. So it could be like, what's it called when you have like an aneurysm, like things like that. It could be in the head, it could be, I see feminine issues when I'm looking at Wendy Williams' chart, and this is because the 6th house is ruled by Cancer. So this could be issues with the breast, this could be issues with the ovaries, any type of women's issues, hormonal imbalances, those types of things are getting ignited in her chart, in her body. Worst fears, and it's almost like there might be sudden surgeries, there might be sudden changes within that. It could be, it could, knock on wood, I don't want to speak this into existence, but it could be something like, I don't want to say it, but it could be like, I don't want to say it, but it could be Cancer is something that puts pressure on, that's like sudden, like it comes in like quick. Why quick? Because Aries is very, it's very aggressive, it's very fast, it needs action now. And Uranus is like sudden, like suddenly this happens, suddenly my life is disrupted, suddenly this pops off. And that's what it is. It's very fast, it's very like unpredictable, and it's a result of, you know, it could be a result of stress, it could be a result of not taking care of the body. This is why it's very important for you guys, if you have any aspects within the 6th house, like I always look to the 6th house. I have this within my own chart, so I understand. If I'm not taking care of my physical body, it will get beat down. I don't want to speak it into existence, because I'm doing all that I can now to make sure that I'm eating healthy every single day to protect myself. But astrology shows the potentials, the strengths, and the weaknesses, and that's one of my weaknesses within my chart. And it already started, it showed up during an insane transit years ago, which I talked about that briefly. You know, I kind of like sprinkled it around when I talked about it, but it has the potential to reveal itself again if I don't, you know, take care of my day-to-day stress, and if I don't take care of my day-to-day, you know, body. So I do that. I gotta stop drinking coffee though. So yeah, I see this as health issues 100%. I see it again as feminine issues. It's breasts, it's ovaries, it could be stomach, but I'm also seeing the head, the connection to the head. There's something going on with the head and also the hormones. And it's something that radiates throughout the entire body. Once this happens, it impacts the rest of the body, and then it's a trickle effect. Also stress, the pressure of the relationship, the pressure of the marriage life is getting highlighted 100% for Wendy Williams at this point. And it's just concerning. It's been concerning for a while. Wendy Williams, if you're watching this, honestly, just take care of yourself. Now, I did promise an intuitive message at the very, oh, the marriage, fuck. So Neptune is another one of those things that is sitting, Neptune is sitting, moving through her 1st house of self. Neptune is a planet of illusion and things just not being what it is that they seem. when Neptune moves to the first house, again, it's like there's a chance to be very vulnerable to drugs and to fall into the like alcohol, the influence of things. You just have to kind of escape reality. It's not only that, but it's her vices. Your vices with Pluto and moving through the 12th house, it's like the house of undoing. It's not taking care of your physical body, like just needing to release. And if there's, you know, and I say alcohol because Neptune will always seek to escape. And the way that it does it is through drugs, through alcohol, through prescriptions, things like that. Or sometimes it's love, sometimes it's art, but it depends on the person. But with a chart like this, all of her is being attacked right now by the planets. And the way to handle it is to take care of her feminine woman's body, to enter more into a space of being a woman and receiving versus you doing. And it just sucks because I can see her career expanding, but this could be also a chance for you to switch it up, to do it differently, and to be a role model for women. And that's the other thing too, Wendy, like this is the intuitive message that it is that I'll share, and then I'll cut it off because you guys know I've been really chatty when it comes to these videos. But of course, if this was your reading, then you know that you're gonna expect the most. But intuitively, as I was pulling your chart, Wendy Williams, let me close this and let's talk. Intuitively, as I was pulling your chart, there's this element of women's issues, and I can see, obviously, looking at your chart, that women's issues could be health related, but it almost seems like whatever it is that's going on for you now in your life, is the way to turn this into a positive is to connect with other women and women's empowerment and women's health. Even as I say this, I almost have chills, but women's health and in prioritizing women loving themselves and taking care of themselves and making themselves a priority, to teach women that strength doesn't look like this one thing. It can look like, you know, those moments where you're vulnerable, those moments when you ask for help, those moments when you put your heart out there, those moments when you put your foot down, those moments when it's not only just taking care of the physical body, like, feeding yourself well, making sure that you're going to your doctor's appointments, resting, not doing the most, saying no, the ability to say no as a woman, but it's also catering to yourself and, giving yourself baths and, luxury, whatever luxury looks like for you. For me, it's always been the bath and taking care of my skin and, my body and stuff like that on the external, but also on the internal. But whatever it is that looks like for you, and as I say this, what does that inspire within you? Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what you can do with this transit and what you can do with this message, because I feel like, Wendy, when you sit down with yourself and you intuitively connect with your heart and ask yourself what this looks like and what your legacy will look like, it will be bigger than just broadcasting and publishing. But there's a connection to, you are going to be the face for women all over, for self-love, for self-protection, for self-preservation. 2019 is the year that's ruled by the Empress card, the Empress energy, and also the Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man is all about letting go, submitting, and having faith. And logically, everything in your head is going to tell you to do things this one way. But intuitively, you have to connect to women's intuition and be that for yourself. But you doing that for yourself is going to bleed into other aspects, which you can take it to the next level. Now, I know that Wendy has connections to substance abuse, but I also see moving forward into the future a connection to women's empowerment and women's like self-love movement. She's going to be the face of it, Wendy. That's your gift right now, and it's not what it was that you were expecting, but you can take this transit right now, everything that is that you're going through, and when you're ready to be honest about it and and I know it's not going to be easy. There's going to be moments where you're going to break down emotionally because you're going to feel weak. You're only going to feel weak because it feels foreign to you, but you have what it takes, and it's going to be so much bigger than you logically have, pictured it for yourself. In the meantime, love up on yourself, every aspect of that word, meaning like if anything makes you feel stressed out, if anything makes you feel negative, it has to go. I don't care what the cost is. I truly intuitively feel that you prioritizing your health and your happiness in your heart as a woman is going to take you even further to the next level when you're ready to talk about it. So I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to tell you to do anything that you're not comfortable with. Of course, if Wendy Williams or anyone of her team or anybody else needs a reading, I'm available for that. I'm based out of New Orleans. My websites are in the links down below. Again, all of these readings are for positive intention. There's more that we could dive into the natal chart, but again, that's total like full disclosure, and I still respect people's privacies. I would never, you know, talk any further into things that I just don't think are appropriate, and that is what it is. If Wendy Williams ever wanted to reach out to me, I'm of course more than happy to be there. But in the meantime, also this element of play and joy and laughter is so important, and at least just for you right now. And it's just like, not everything needs to be so heavy. And for those of you guys that are watching this video right now, I really want to encourage you guys to, I know that Wendy Williams seems like she has it all. In a lot of ways, I feel like she does, but every one of us is connected. Every one of us needs each other, and just, I know that you might be going through something, meaning like if you're watching this video and you're like, I'm going through something, why would I send Wendy Williams, you know, my love and my light and my support and healing energy? Well, what you send out there comes back to you, and Wendy Williams is one of us. She's a woman just like you and me, or if you are a woman watching this, but she needs us. She needs our energy right now. She needs our love. She needs our light, and we should give it to her without a doubt. So if you're watching this video, and just really quickly just say, even if you don't believe in prayer, even if you don't believe in intention, just say, Wendy Williams, I send you my love. Say it out loud, or say it quietly in your head, or write it down. It will reach her, because she needs it now more than ever. And I don't know the woman her personally, but from her chart, I know you just by looking at your chart, because I'm, you know, just your local New Orleans astrologer. So that being said, you guys, I love each and every single one of you so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know that it was long and lengthy, but I'm a Virgo. This is what I do. This is my work. And, you know, I leave no stone unturned. So I'll see you in my next video. Make sure that you're subscribed. There's plenty more where this came from. If you want to see more celebrity predictions and intuitive readings, please leave it down in the comments or give it a thumbs up video, and I'll be more than happy to do that. Until then, I will see you soon. Bye.